Here it is. It's so good. Have you ever been to a Brazilian birthday party? Because if you have, there is a very good chance you've seen this little candy. It's white, hard, and incredibly sweet. And it's usually wrapped in a tiny piece of colorful paper. And here's the funny part. Oops. Brazilian children love them, but Brazilian adults love them just as much. And yet, there is something very strange about this candy. You don't usually see people eating it at home. You don't usually walk into a supermarket and think, I'm gonna buy myself a bag of these. No. You see them at birthday parties. And that's a reason for that. This is bala de coco, one of those very traditional Brazilian sweets that is deeply connected to childhood, birthday parties, and that very specific feeling of going home with a little bag full of leftover sweets after a party. And today I want to show you what it is, where it comes from, and why this little candy is so much more Brazilian than it might look. Hi, my name is Maite, I'm Brazilian, and on this channel I talk about Brazilian Portuguese, Brazilian culture, foods, traditions, and all those little things about Brazil that you probably won't find in a textbook. And actually, I went to a birthday party yesterday, so I brought some of these little candies with me specifically so I could show you what they look like. They're individually wrapped in these little pieces of colored paper, and the colors are usually chosen to match the decoration of the party. So if the birthday party has a pink and purple theme, you might find pink and purple candies. If it's blue and white, like these ones, it's matching the theme. They're always part of the decoration. You put them on the dessert table together with the brigadeiros, the cake, and all the other sweets. And yes, eventually people eat them, but they also make the table look so beautiful. And this is one of those details that I think says a lot about Brazilian birthday parties. Food isn't just food, it's also decoration. It's part of the experience and it's part of the celebration. Now let's talk about the name. In Portuguese, bala means candy. Bala. So, bala de coco, coconut candy. Coco means coconut. Never say coco. Don't. But the history of this candy is much more interesting than the name. The story is connected to an old sweet called alfenim. Alfenim is a sugar-based confection associated with the Arab culinary traditions. The tradition of making these kinds of sugar sweets traveled into the Iberian Peninsula and became part of Portuguese confectionery. Eventually, Portuguese culinary traditions crossed the Atlantic and came to Brazil during colonization. And here in Brazil, the recipe and the ingredients evolved, of course. The coconut became an important part of Brazilian sweets, and that's where we start getting closer to the candy we recognize today as bala de coco. And there's something really interesting about the coconut itself. Coconut became incredibly important in Brazilian cooking. The coconut palm was introduced to Brazil in the 16th century by Portuguese colonizers, as I said before, and adapted very well to our tropical climate here. So once you have sugar and you have coconut, of course, Brazilians are going to make a lot of desserts with it. And we do. Bala de coco is only one example. Another very famous Brazilian sweet is beijinho. Beijinho. If you have never heard of it, you need to know this one. Beijinho. Little kiss. It's basically a white version of brigadeiro made with condensed milk and coconut, usually finished with shredded coconut on top. And it's another classic at Brazilian birthday parties. Then we have cocada. Cocada. Cocada is another traditional Brazilian coconut sweet, and there are many different versions depending on the region and the recipe. And then there's another candy that I absolutely have to mention, bala baiana. My favorite. It's basically a coconut filling covered in hard caramel shell. So imagine this soft coconut candy on the inside, different from this one, and then a thin layer of caramel around it that becomes hard and shiny. It's also called bala de vidro, glass candy, because of that shiny caramel coating. So you can see that coconut isn't just some random ingredient in Brazilian desserts. It has a huge presence in our sweets. Now let's talk about how bala de coco is actually made, because this is where things get interesting. The ingredients are actually pretty simple. A traditional recipe can use sugar, water, and coconut milk. But simple ingredients do not mean that the candy is easy to make, and this is one of the reasons most people aren't sitting in their kitchens making hundreds of these for a birthday party like we usually do with brigadeiros. You first have to cook the sugar until it reaches the right candy stage. And getting this stage here is important and difficult. If you don't get the temperature and consistency right, you can completely ruin the candy. Once the mixture reaches the right point, it's poured into a surface, traditionally something like a dry marble surface, and allowed to cool enough to handle. Then comes the part that I think is the most interesting one. You pull it, you stretch the candy over and over again. And as you pull and fold the candy, something happens to the texture and the appearance. It gradually becomes lighter and whiter. Eventually, you get this beautiful, soft-looking candy mass that can be rolled into a rope. And then you cut it into little pieces. That's your bala de coco. And the process sounds way simpler when I explain it like this, but trust me, getting it right is not easy at all. You have to get the sugar mixture to the correct point, work with the temperature, pull the candy correctly, and cut it at the right moment, basically. And that's one reason why for birthday parties, most people are making these at home. If you're having a big party, imagine needing enough candy for dozens of people. You'd have to make all of these little candies, pull the entire batch, cut them, wrap them individually, and somehow make them look beautiful as well. So what do Brazilians do? We buy them, or even better, we order them from a doceira. And this is another cultural word you should know, doceira or doceiro, a person who makes and sells sweets. A doceira or doceiro is someone who specializes in making Brazilian sweets, often for parties and special events. And at least where I live, if you really want good bala de coco for a birthday party, people prefer to order it from a doceira than just buying the mass-produced version from a store. Because honestly, they are just way better. There's no comparison. The homemade ones tend to be softer and fresher, and this is something you see all over Brazilian party culture. People also order brigadeiros or beijinhos or cakes or other little decorated sweets. And of course, we also order our balas de coco. Then everything gets arranged on this beautiful dessert table. And by the end of the party, something else happens. People start taking the sweets home, huh? Because Brazilian birthday parties are not necessarily, okay, you ate your piece of cake and goodbye. No. You might leave with a little bag having some brigadeiros, maybe a piece of cake, maybe some other sweets, and obviously a bunch of bala de coco. And that's one of my favorite things about these candies. They are not just a dessert. They remind Brazilians of a very specific moment in life. Childhood birthday parties, family, friends, bright decorations, my favorite part. That table completely covered with sweets, someone singing parabéns pra você in the background. I spent 5 years in New York City and I've never seen bala de coco there. And then everyone starts eating brigadeiro and chatting, and maybe that's why adults still love bala de coco so much, because when you're eating it, you're not just eating coconut and sugar. You're almost eating a little piece of nostalgia. That's how I feel. And I think that's one of the reasons traditional foods are so interesting when you're learning about another country. You can learn a lot about a culture through its food. And you don't even have to speak Portuguese to understand what a Brazilian birthday party means. You see the cake, you see the decorations, you see the children running around. It happens all the time. You see the parents trying to keep everything under control. And then you see this little table covered in sweets. And right there, in the middle of it all, you probably find bala de coco. I love this so much. And if you've never seen one before, now you know. Bala de coco. Bala de coco. Repeat with me. And if you've ever come to a Brazilian party and you see a little colorful candy wrapped in paper, try it. Don't be surprised if adults are eating more than the children, because that's completely normal. Let me know in the comments, have you ever seen bala de coco before? And more importantly, have you ever eaten one? If you've been to Brazil, maybe you already had one without even knowing what it was. And if you haven't, would you try it? Do you think you would like it or not? I would love to know. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about Brazilian food, culture, expressions, and all the little things that make Brazil, Brazil, subscribe to the channel and send this video to someone who loves Brazilian food or is planning to visit Brazil. Now I'm gonna unwrap one bala de coco with you and try it. Dun 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 dun. I want a blue one. So this is how it looks. It's always wrapped in a piece of paper like that, as I mentioned before, many different colors, and you unwrap it like this. And here it is. As I mentioned before, it's hard. If you touch it, it is hard. It's so good. So even though it's hard, as soon as you bite on it, it becomes like chewy. It melts in your mouth. It's super sweet. It's super sweet. But it's so good. It is so good. And then you can eat it all. So this is bala de coco. Ciao.